Hey, I'm Andy. This is Steve. We are at the Philadelphia Barber Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be trimming his hair and trimming this beard of his as well. All right. I'm going to be trimming his hair. I'm going to be using mainly scissors. I really don't want to use my trimmer that much. All I'm going to be doing with the trimmer is kind of lining up around his ears and getting these little baby hairs down here. But I really want to just make this a scissor cut and kind of trim up his hair a little bit. So I'm going to wet it down. His hair likes to get really puffy on the sides. You can kind of see it right here. So I'm not going to be going too short there, but I want to wet him down first. He was wearing a hat, so there's kind of a kink back here. If I were to be using clippers on his hair, usually when people have a hat on, it's kind of annoying to have this little crease back here, but since we're using scissors, it's fine. So getting his hair wet allows me to kind of push that puffy part over, since I don't want to go too short there, and I really want to focus on cleaning up around his ears here. He has these little curls. A lot of people, especially if they have beards, these curls get kind of crazy, so we want to get those in nice and tight. Kind of lift it out around the ear. You can see they're still kind of up here, but don't bring it up too high and cut into these long hairs here. Keep brushing those out of the way. You can use a clip if you want, but his hair is long enough where I don't need to. And it's really just about an inch to an inch and a half above his ear that I'm going. Pull the ear so you're not going to be snipping the ear at all, and you can just kind of go around. I'm going to be coming back around with the trimmer just to make sure these little hairs are taken care of. But since you have the scissors, you can grab those. Work your way down the hairline and just follow it here and even it up with what you started. I'm going to switch to the other side. I want to keep making it symmetrical, so I'm going to go over here and do the exact same thing. That way it makes it easy for you to keep in place with which step you're in, so you're not just kind of cutting all over the place. So there's those curls there. You can protect the ear as well by kind of keeping the comb on top of it. You see this part's there? And cutting over. So now I'm going to kind of taper the back of his neck. I really just want to use shears here. A lot of the times I will use my clippers and give him a nice skin fade here, but I want to do a little bit of a longer cut today. So scoop under and take about half an inch off and start your guideline. And then just start going up and take the exact same amount off that you did with your guideline. You want to keep brushing it down, combing it down, so you can see where your line is. See, this is what needs to be cut. Now, I want to even up this length to this length, but I need to get my guideline for this length first. So I'm going to come, this is just right, see, he pushes all of his hair back. So I'm going to be kind of taking this middle section here and pulling it out at a 90-degree angle. You can see where his split ends are, where they really need to be trimmed. And I'm just giving him a trim, so that's why we're only kind of taking that much off. 90-degree angle. And go from side to side again. Take that exact amount off, staying with the guideline that you just created here. Still have these little wings right here. I never want to go too short on his wings either, or else they're going to pop out as soon as his hair is dry. So as long as you see the wings that are coming out, and instead of pulling them out to like an angle this way, you really kind of want to pull them back because his hair goes all back. And so now I want to meet that length with what we started with down here. Can you look down a little bit? Yeah. So right here, it's a little long. And I do like to brush it in all kind of different directions so I can see where the dark spots are. It's kind of one right there. You can go over it and just trim it up. So I'm just going to trim the top now. After the top, I'm going to work my way to the sides. But for now, we're going to take this front section about 2 inches from the front of his head. Bring it straight up. Take about 1 inch off. The ends are kind of bad right here. And then start working your way back. Don't grab the whole head of hair and just start bringing it up, or else you're not going to be following your guidelines at all, and your guidelines will be useless. So if you bring about another 2-inch section, starting from the first section that you created, bring that straight up, and you can see your guideline right there, and keep following that. And do that again. So I've reached his cowlick, and here I want to even up this length to the length that we created when we were holding the hair at a 90-degree angle here. Brush it all back, and then grab kind of the same amount of thickness as when we did here, but more kind of right in the center of his head there. And then you'll be able to see that angle there that we need to cut off. This length, and now we need to bring it all the same. Check the length that you made here. Make sure it's flowing nicely with the top length. If you see any corners like that, just needs to be evened up. His hair gets really tricky on the sides. You've heard me say a million times, I don't want to go too short here. So I kind of, with his hair specifically, I like to keep this a lot shorter than this length, and I'm not gonna blend it in completely. This isn't gonna be like a seamless blend on the sides. It almost needs to overlap so he can still push it back. And so I'm just gonna trim it. You can see his split ends there that need to be trimmed. And then make sure that these lengths can be blended in with this, and that's fine. This meaning the top. Split ends, 90 degree, but still kind of to the back. And the direction that I comb his hair so it will lay down is back and kind of down. And then where it starts to become blended is this area here. So it's more or less kind of undercutty right here, but that's strategic so his hair doesn't pop out. So we're gonna do that on this side too. Again, this area is where it's gonna become more of a seamless blend. Sometimes you have to get creative when it comes to people who have, crazy hair on the sides or just a cowlick that won't quit. The last thing that you want to do, though, is just cut it off or make it shorter. It may look good for a couple of days, but as soon as they go home and their hair starts to grow out, they're not going to know what to do, and then they're going to hate you. So I'm just kind of playing around with his hair, making sure I can kind of flop it to that side, and I like the length. I also want to make sure it's even, so I like to just kind of pull it out. I'm not going to take that much off. So I'm going to come back around with the trimmer around his ears and get under here after I blow dry his hair, but we need to move on to the beard. Okay. So I already blow dried his beard straight. I used Beardbrand's round brush, actually. This thing's awesome. It grabs the hair really, really well, and I was able to straighten it out a lot more than as if it were to just dry naturally. And now I can cut it more evenly. His mustache, we're going to leave. I think it's awesome. It's gotten long enough where he can kind of grab it and push it to the side, which is really great.
Okay, I'm going to voice on this. This is the most awesome mustache.
I agree.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say something bad. I was like, Greg,
no.
Don't mess with me here. Come on.
Oh, come on, guys.
No, look at it. It's so great. So this is getting a little long. The only thing that I kind of want to just trim these little guys so it has more of a flow into the beard because he kind of has the blonde streaks here as well. So I'm going to start by just lining up his cheeks and kind of getting around with the trimmer. We leave it completely natural underneath. Can you look up a little bit for me? I don't touch it down here because his beard is so long that we don't need to. Any unnecessary razors or maintenance, is unnecessary, especially if he has natural, nice lines and it doesn't bother him anyway. So I'm going to take my trimmer and go follow his hairline, and you can kind of see the corner of his mouth underneath the awesome mustache. Lift it up, and the line is going to be going towards his mustache in a nice curve. Make sure to not go too low. And you really just want to make a guideline for yourself. I'm going to be coming around later with the straight razor to crisp up the lines a little bit. And for these hairs, you can kind of brush them forward. And get those. But I want to get around his ears. Pull his ear back so you can kind of see his jawbone. And don't cut in too much, especially since I'm not lining it up here. We just want to get the things that don't belong in our sticking out. So this is an area that tends to bush out first. A lot of bearded people like to have this kind of faded in with clippers. His is kind of naturally framing his face. So I just want to get the stragglers that are coming out and not take my clippers and make a thin fade and bring it all the way down. I'm just going to kind of start that line over the ear that I'm going to come back with later, just so I can get a better shape around the beard. Now I'm going to do that on the other side. Same thing. And if you look at him head on, you can kind of see what I just did and what needs to be done. Don't cut into the hairline, you just want to clean up what doesn't belong. Kind of scoop it out, bring it down. Scoop this around the ear. There's that dryer again. That happened last time too. Again, not lining up the neck, so don't cut into the beard down there. So now we're going to clean up the length down here, and then I'll come back around and clean up kind of what doesn't belong. Again, we're not really touching the mustache. I might kind of clean up the edges here. I'm going to switch to shears. One's specifically made for dry hair. These ones are a little bit sharper, and they're not going to bend the hair. The other ones that I have, they are also for dry and wet hair, but since I have these nice dry cutters from Hattori Hanzo, I like to use them on beards because they just get a little bit more crisp. You can see where the beard is starting to break and is less full. So we're going to bring it up. About 1.5 inches we're going to go up, and it's going to allow his beard to look a lot fuller. 1.5 to 2 inches. Greg's nervous. Just kind of pull it down and make your guideline there. I always need to look at them head on to make sure that it's even. You know, if you're kind of standing at an angle here and your head's all cockeyed, it's more of a potential for it to be not even. So So I need to kind of get all up in their grill a little bit. Now, can you look up a little bit for me? Right there. Is that comfortable in your neck? That's fine?
That's fine.
Okay. And so I asked him to do that because I need to see the underneath a little bit too. His beard is so long that, you know, a lot of beards are slanted from the chin here, but his is just kind of cascading down all at one length, and I still want to keep it one length in the front. So I need to cut the back as well and even that. Did you put any beard oil in today?
No.
Or nothing?
And we got the beard oil for you.
Sound like Billy Mays.
Billy Mays isn't alive, is he?
No, I think, no. May Billy Mays and Harambe rest in peace. Sorry, okay. So I don't want him to hurt his neck by holding it at an angle like that. So I'm going to put this handy dandy headrest back here. I'm going to put it at the level of his head and just have him kind of droop so I can get the underneath even more. Comb it out. And I like to use mainly shears for my beard trims. I think it allows you to give it less of a boxy look, less of a kind of cut out cookie cutter look. If that makes sense. Okay, look in the mirror for me. I'm just checking purely the chin length. His beard breaks a little bit more on this side, so I'm double checking the length even more because it's naturally fuller here, and I'm going to be evening it up with his cheeks and doing that, but it makes it a little bit more challenging to make sure that this is even. I'm happy with that length. It looks a lot fuller here and clean. So go back a little bit for me again. Just find the headrest. There you go. And so he's kind of he's got these wings here a little bit, and I want to slope it more like that without taking, you know, all of his beard off. So you can see kind of that tail right there. And I'm going to go in line with the direction that his beard is going down. So basically go towards his ear. And once you make that guideline, you can follow it all the way down. Brush it out so you're not missing anything. Okay, I'm going to come back around and kind of get these little guys at the end. But I want to do that same step, but just on this side. By doing that, it just allows me not to lose my place and to know exactly where I'm putting everything. Like I said before, this side is a little bit more full naturally than this side. So it may look like I'm cutting more off this side than the other one, but it's really just the density. Using scissors also gives you a great deal more of control of where you're cutting. You know, if you take a clipper to it and you're just like, you're going to put a hole in their beard, and that's not good. So I'm pretty happy with the shape, you know, except for these guys that I'm going to freehand around. But I just for now want to comb out his beard and make sure the length is good, these wings are taken care of. And so to get these parts in, I, again, have to get really awkward with them and look them right in the face and make them feel super uncomfortable. But I want to be able to see which hairs are popping out. Be careful of their ears during this part too. And I take my shears and really just, their cheekbones here, I really just want to follow where their cheekbone is and go straight up and down. And just keep brushing it out, because the more you brush it out, the more little guys are going to pop up, and just keep following that line. As long as you're following that line still, you're not going to be cutting into the beard too much. You're only going to be cutting what you need. It's kind of like pruning a rose bush. Just want to take off what you don't need, the dead ends. You don't have to get all Edward Scissorhands on them either and go too crazy. Turn them into a dinosaur. I don't know if anyone gets that reference.
I do.
Okay, so you can see how much cleaner that is on that side. Now we got to do that on this side. So again, straight up and down, cheekbone is right here. You can see what's left over. Watch out for their earlobes. It is raining here in Philadelphia for the millionth time. Why is that? It was 90 degrees today. Okay, so I'm just kind of pruning him around his beard and looking around and making sure nothing's popping up, combing it, really just the details. And I'm pretty happy with the shape. I'm happy with the length. I'm happy that this isn't too tight and faded in, especially because his cheekbones are very prominent right here. You have to tailor the beard to their face shape as well and kind of what's underneath. So if he didn't have kind of bigger cheekbones, it would make a little bit more sense to fade this in tighter. But since his cheekbones are here, you need to have some of the fluff to kind of come down and frame his face, and then also meet the beard at the bottom. So it's all kind of one piece. What I said in the beginning about the mustache, I don't want to take anything off over the lip. I do kind of want to trim these little ends. You see it's kind of blonde here, but it's a little bit darker here, and I just kind of want to blend that in a little bit. So you can just kind of lift it up, take some of those ends off, comb it in, make sure it blends in. Super simple, nothing crazy. Point cut it in there a little bit. There. And that looks a lot more together. I'm gonna do that on the other side. I do also kind of want to get some of the stragglers on his patch right here. And I'm going to take my shears and just kind of cut down with it, because that's the direction his beard's going. Go the direction that it grows. Goes with the grain. Goes with the grain. All those words sound the same. I like the fact that his beard is nicely cut right now. Some want it to look a little bit more natural and not like you just freshly trimmed it up. So you could always point cut it. Don't cut into the beard. Point cut it and texturize it like this. I'm not going to do that with his beard because I really, really like how it looks, especially since the whole point of giving him this beard trim was to cut the dead ends off and to make it look a lot more full. So I'm not going to ruin what we just did. But that is an option. And I'm pretty satisfied. How do you feel?
Yeah, it looks really good.
You see anything that you want to be different?
No. No, it looks pretty good.
Great. And I think we've achieved, making it a lot more full while just trimming it up and cleaning it up. And that was our goal. At the end, I'm going to be trimming this and tightening it with the straight razor and adding just a little bit of beard oil. But I want to finish his haircut. I always like to finish the haircut after I do the beard. Sometimes when you put someone back with the headrest on, after you've blow-dried their hair and styled it and finished it, they'll have this big kink in the back of their head from the headrest. So I'll do the first portion of the haircut that requires it to be wet, and then I'll do the beard, bring them back up, blow dry the hair, and then do the rest, if that is required. So we're gonna do that. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I love hair tonic, especially for hair that pops out on the sides right there. It really helps relax it. And his hair actually dried a good amount while we were doing his beard. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of straightening it out a little bit, I'm gonna add some more water. And with hair tonic, you can put that in wet or dry. So if you add a little bit of water, that's fine. And I'm also gonna be adding salt spray. And Beardbrand hooked me up with the awesome tea tree sea salt spray. And it's I'm shaking it to mix it all up. And it's almost gone, actually. I've been using it so much. This is gonna give it a lot more volume in the front, covering their forehead. I sea salted your nose. It's gonna give you a lot more volume in the front and just texture throughout the haircut. I think I just used it all. I need more. I'm gonna be taking a vent brush, and that's gonna allow me to give him a lot more volume while I blow dry it as well. This area, as I said in the beginning, I give it the direction of back and down. So that's how I'm gonna be blow drying it as well. So I'm gonna end with some cold air. I always like to kind of seal the hair with the cold air from the blow dryer. It helps prevent damage. It helps seal in the volume that you just created. I'm going to take my texturizing shears. I know a lot of people don't like using texturizing shears. I personally like them a lot, especially with difficult hair. And it's really thick back here because all of his hair is meeting in the back. So it's nice to kind of thin it out and make it less dense. Also, especially since this is a good amount shorter and we're gonna be blending this in, it's nice to make it less dense back there without making this part too short. For anyone who says that they don't like thinning shears, texturizing shears, utilize your tools. They're important. If you know how to use them properly, you can create really awesome haircuts with them. I like them for taking out the density of the hair, for blending them. Doesn't make you any less of a hairstylist or a barber if you use these. They are created for a reason. Let's clean up over his ears and underneath his neck. So I'm gonna just comb the hair down, see what doesn't belong, and follow his hairline. Comb this out. You can see his hairline is right there. Find the bone here and just go straight down. Don't cut into their hair. And on the other side, same thing. Okay, so I'm not going to be giving him a shape or anything. I think that looks unnatural, and like someone just took like a stencil and spray painted some hair on the back of the head. So if you aren't fading it in or tapering it in with a clipper, I like to take the hair and just lift it up, and whatever is left over, whatever isn't caught in the comb, I just scoop underneath. And you can always just take this and kind of take the excess of the hairs off. And that allows them to have a nice, natural hairline. Same over here. And just follow it around. And take the comb and clipper over comb, trim over comb, whatever. Get those little last guys that don't belong there. I'll take my corner and kind of get the ones that are left over, but I'm not making a line. If they have cowlicks back here, it might be a little bit more difficult, but you'll just have to kind of go around in the direction that the cowlick is going and do some clipper over comb action until you get the right shape. I say the word cowlick a lot because it's relevant and a lot of people have them and a lot of barbers don't know how to deal with them. And again, I'm scooping up because I don't want to make any harsh cutout lines. Make sure they're looking straight and it's nice and even. I usually prefer to use clippers and to kind of taper this in to skin, but I left his hair a little bit longer today and I wanted to play with leaving it a little bit longer in the back. I'm just spinning him to check it in the mirror. And I really like the direction that his hair is going. One thing that I see are these little frills here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my shears. Sometimes you can't see how the hair is reacting dry until it's dry. So that's a big reason why I like to go over the hair after I've blow dried it. So you can kind of go in there. And this, you can see it's not because it's uneven. It's not because it wasn't cut properly. Sometimes the hair just reacts that way and kind of flips out, and you need to texturize it to blend it all in. And don't take the texturizing shears for this area because you have the tendency to just make these a little bit shorter and not have as much control as you can if you just point cut it. So I'm going to go in this area here, bring it up, and texturize it in. And you can see they look a lot more natural and a lot more blended in and have a little bit more flow. All right, so I'm gonna clean him up. I wanna shave the back of his neck. I'm gonna use a straight razor on his cheeks. I'm gonna get a hot towel. All right, so I'm putting some shaving cream on his neck, some hot lather. And then I kind of scoop it up with my thumb rather than just like smashing it on his face. Now I've already prepared my blade, sanitized, new blade. I like to wipe the shaving cream off. He's got some moles back here, so be careful with those moles. That's always why I kind of wipe it off first. Okay, I'm gonna go to the cheeks. Again, I'm going to wipe the cream off so I can see more of what I'm doing. The cream has already softened up the skin. Some guys also have hair really close to their eyes. Make sure you're stretching the skin really well because that skin gets a little bit more thin the closer you get to the eyes. And I'm just going to crisp up these lines. When I'm shaving the hair, I'm double checking everything that I did throughout the haircut, just to see any little tiny details that I missed. Right here, there's like just some little hairs that I don't want to be there. This is your last chance to make them perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of beard oil. Can I put some hair product in your hair? Yeah? Rub it in your hands, get it in there really well. His beard was a little dry today because he usually puts beard oil in, but he did not. he knew I was going to be working on it. And then just comb it through. If you have a brush, you can brush it through. Mustache comb. Whatever method you like. Just get it in there. I'm just going to put some clay in his hair. With clay, you really want to rub it in your hands really, really well, or else it has the potential to get clumpy in their hair, and that's hard to blend in once it's in their hair. And I start on the sides with him, but I don't mash it all in. I kind of use my fingers as a comb. And then I'll mess up the top a little bit because you want the hair product in the hair and not just on top of it. Never just get a bunch of hair product and smash it into the front of your head, or else you're gonna look like in There's Something About Mary. You remember that scene? And get the excess on your hands and just kind of work it through. Sometimes I like to give his hair a direction to one side, just a little tiny bit. But since I cut it evenly everywhere, I have the freedom to put it wherever I want. I could put it straight back if I wanted to. Here, I just took the corner of my comb and went back and created just like a little tiny bit of a part. And with the puffier sides, again, back and down, because that's the direction that the hair grows, and you want to just kind of follow that. I'm pretty satisfied. You satisfied?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Great.
All right guys, stop. Before you watch our next video, let me tell you, our sea salt spray. This product is amazing for your hair. It gives movable texture. It's like a dry shampoo, so if you go in between days of washing your hair, it'll help your hair extend a little bit longer, and it smells absolutely amazing. Find it over at beardbrand.com.